And welcome back. It is a beautiful Wednesday morning. This is Open Your Eyes live on 5. We are about to venture off into our second topic for this morning. The Ministry of Health and Drug Inspectorate Quality Generic Medication. And in to tell us more, we've got the pros in. We've got Samira Gongora, who is a drug inspector and at the Pharmacy Department.
Right.
And also Amini Galvez, Pharmacy Department as well. Guys, good morning. It's so nice to see you properly dressed,
Thanks
I must say. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Morning.
You know, this is definitely one of the topics to reckon with. And I'm saying this because everybody needs some kind of drug to, you know, to get better. That's what we need. Right. But for most of the times, we don't know what we're getting. The doctor recommends something, and that's what we go to the store and we buy, we eat, we drink. So let's jump on into it. Drug Inspectorate Quality Generic Medications. Let's start.
Well, I'd first like to correct you and not say you go to the store and buy. You go to the pharmacy and buy.
Yes. Thank you.
So, so we want to make that very clear. We want to ensure that what is being imported, which is what we do, we ensure that drugs that are imported are registered and that the importer that is importing it are duly licensed by the government of Belize. So that will ensure that what you're getting is quality medication, and at the same time we won't be avoiding or stopping access or availability. You can choose the variety of what you want to use, because we know different people, different items work for different people, different brands work for other people. So at the same time, we're regulating the industry. We don't want to stop access or availability.
I want to start there because this has been an ongoing process. I think it's maybe a year or two that you've really started to crack down on the access to the types of medications that people have access to. And that included educating the public on knowing whether you're going to a registered pharmacy, to what they're selling and labeling. Talk to me about where we are in this process and why it was important.
Okay, well, the registration process is ongoing. We've had quite a number of medication that's already registered. We had 2 systems in place. We had grandfathered in the items that were already coming in country, and we have the full registration process of the new items that are coming. And so in order for the new process to take effect, you have to bring in the Good Manufacturing Practices Certificate, the Certificate of Pharmaceutical Products, and the certificate of analysis, so that we could ensure that what is coming have gone through all the stringent regulation of the regulatory authority in the country that it was manufactured. And so we know that it's registered, and it's twofold, because in addition to having the necessary documentation and that it was manufactured under good standards, we also sent it to test. And those were those items that came back that met standards. They are safe for use.
Now, pharmaceuticals is a major money-making industry. And much like we know you can have a designer brand of something and a no-name brand, you have the same with medications. How do you ensure that there is affordable access to medication? Clearly, a designer brand or a well-known brand has all the financing to be able to meet all the standards that you want. Sometimes people turn to the generic simply because it's cheaper. How do you ensure that people are taking medication that will work for their body, but also meets at least a minimum standard?
Well, like I said just now, with all the documentation that we would get, we also need to send it to test. So that's what we did with those 5 medication on the press release. We sent them to CARFA, which is the Caribbean Regional Drug Testing Lab, and they passed all the requirements, the solubility, the dissolution. So we know those are fit for consumption and that they will be effective when used by the patient. And so those are all generic drugs. There were no brand names there. So the population can feel, the public can feel comfortable in taking those generic drugs because they meet the standards and the quality is of high standards for use.
Now, I won't even venture into saying the names of these medications. They're a bit complicated. But what we saw was five generic brands testing of good quality for purchase and use in the country. But these are 5 medications of how many that went to test?
These were all 5.
All 5.
Okay.
All 5 were sent.
Yeah.
And these were drugs that were in general circulation in both the
Already.
public and private setting.
Yeah. Now, when you start to regulate something that, for all intents and purposes, was almost unregulated before, people were getting medication that they couldn't even read the box
From all over
and
the
had to trust that what they were being sold was for that purpose.
Right.
People have already established habits of what they like to use, prefer to use. When you go in and regulate it, it means that access to some of these medications is no longer there.
Right.
How do you explain that to the public?
Well, the thing is, and also it's for demand as well, because sometimes these popular brands, it's not used as much. And remember, Belize is a small country, and if an importer is noticing that a certain brand is not being sold, and they have to invest money to pay for the documentation, the GMP, the CPP, the COAs, then it's not cost effective to them. So we would advise them to go back to the doctor and see what's on the market and what they can use in addition to that.
Yeah.
If you specifically want a medication that this importer just can't get the GMP, then maybe you can get it from abroad.
What's a GMP?
Good manufacturing practices.
Okay.
Right? You can get it from abroad, and then we will give you, once you have the prescription, we will authorize the importation of that specifically for you. In addition to that, we've been looking into avenues of reliance pathways. That's where if a regulatory authority of whatever region, maybe in South America, in Visa, or in Mexico, Coffee Priest, they already have that drug registered there, then we are looking into, since they already went through the process, the stringent process to register it there, then automatically we are looking into registering it here as well to make the process as easy as possible.
Yeah.
Let me just add to what Ms. Samira said for a better understanding. The GMP, the COA, and the CPP are the documents we use to do the drug registration. Those are the documents that confirms or verifies that the product met all requirements by the laboratory, by its manufacturer, and it's of good quality. So those are the important documents we ask the importers to provide to us so that we could do the drug registration, and those are the ones that we accept now.
Are there any, and I'm asking this question so the public can know, are there any renegade drugstore across this country that people don't know are not registered? And what should people look for to say that, yes, this drugstore is a registered drugstore?
We had, I just like to say before that, we had people that they call peddlers walking around or riding around on bicycles and cycles with drugs in there, and we know the temperature of Belize, so automatically that affects the integration of the product.
People riding around
bicycles
selling
they're walking in their bags, in their carts, in their vans,
At
in
the
their
market.
truck backs. It was ridiculous. So we had to put that to a stop. And so after that, we ensured that the facility has to be licensed, and the list of licensed establishments is on the Ministry of Health website.
Okay.
So the public can go and check out to see which pharmacists or pharmacies are registered and they can buy from, as well as retail pharmacists can buy from registered importers, because to be an importer you have to be licensed as well.
But the thought of going online to see it, or to see whether or which drugstore is registered, I don't want to say it's far-fetched, but to a certain extent that's what I must say. But if I go into a drugstore, for me to know that they're registered, what must I look for?
Oh, there's a license. There's a Ministry of Health license that should be and will be displayed, along with the pharmacist certificate that should be displayed as well.
Okay.
And you should speak with only the pharmacist.
Only the pharmacist, right.
Outside the pharmacy, there is a sign that says licensed pharmacists are licensed to sell, and the pharmacist's name should be printed on that sign outside. So when you enter, you could ask for the pharmacist. And inside, well, as Ms. Samira said, there is a copy of the pharmacist registered license. So you could ask and you ensure that you speak with the pharmacist. Because a pharmacist is supposed to be in a pharmacy at all times.
Yeah.
And in addition to that, we have some importers of supplements. So you have to be careful, because if you're an importer of supplements, vitamins, and so forth, you still need to be licensed with the government, with the Ministry of Health.
Even
so
supplements,
look out, right? So look out for those license.
Now, there is an issue that I did want to bring up, and we have a colleague in this room. It would be remiss of me not to bring it up. When we talk about medication that people have become accustomed to using, there's some people who depend on medication to be able to carry out their everyday life. My good friend here has hypertension and has been accustomed to using one particular medication, labetalol. And it is the only medication he's found that has been able to control. Very healthy guy, if you look at him. Runs, exercise, eats well, but it's the only thing that controls his high blood pressure. And now he has a problem finding it. How do you, and that's just one story, but I'm sure if we look across the country, because you are cracking down, which is an essential process as well, there are some who are being caught in the mix who can't get medication that they need for their very survival. How do you address situations like these?
Well, in that case, specifically for that person, once they have the prescription and they can ask the porter to import it specifically for them, we will give that authorization. Because the thing is, if you are agreeing to take that because that works for you, then you're automatically taking that responsibility on you just for you, because you know it works for you. But we can unleash it to the public without the proper documentation of it's being registered and to ensure the quality. So we will afford you the access of getting that medication for you. Mind you, it might be at an additional cost because it's specifically
once you're
for
importing, it's going to be more. But let me just help me understand though. How does it go from being available to unavailable? Why is that?
Well, the thing is that maybe it was available and it finished when the law came in, and the importer just couldn't get the GMP. Because you have to understand the dynamics of where we live. We're a small country, and some of those importers have to buy directly from a distributor, not from the manufacturer. And usually you get the GMP and the documentation from the manufacturer. So it will come at a huge cost to them as well, just for a small amount. And if they bring in that item, sometimes they won't make back the money. Because remember, these suppliers or these importers, they're business people as well. It's pharmaceuticals, but it's a business. So if they see it's not feasible for them, then it won't come, they won't bring it. You understand? So looking at all of that, we like I said, we're looking in another avenue with the Belize pathway to see how, if that product is already registered by FDA, by a coffee priest or whatever, then we will look into registering it based on them already doing the work. Because we don't really need to invent the wheel.
You know, and I think that's one of the things that is standing out right now when it comes to medication across this country. I think that what's happening is that importers are actually bringing in the generic. Then you go to the drugstore, or you go to the pharmacy. You go to the pharmacy and then you say, hey, can I have, do you have any Coffergot? Or do you have any Avimagran? And they would tell you, no, we don't. But the same ingredients that are in this or in that is in this. But it builds now to that you've got to trust this medication, and then you don't know what's going on there. So how do we continue to or how can we sensitize the public in understanding that what's in here is in here and you must trust that? What are we doing to get this across?
Well, the thing is, maybe even that medication that is available won't work for you. So we have to consider all of that, because all of us are unique in our own ways. And maybe generic might work for you, but only the brand can work for you. You understand? So if you try it, because the
body adapts differently. But I get what John is asking, and I guess if I could push it just a little bit further, what is the interaction with the Belize Medical and Dental Association or the physicians in the country who make the prescriptions? Because I will take what my doctor prescribes.
Yes.
And my doctor will prescribe, based on various reasons, perhaps what he's or she has been prescribing for a very long time.
Yeah.
And I may not know, or the doctor may not know that that drug is no longer available.
Yes.
And I don't know is suitable or have not known of what other drugs are coming in. So what is the collaboration that is taking place? Because I can only imagine if I have a disease or I have an illness and my doctor gives me that medication, I know what I do. I go to every pharmacy there is to find just that drug. And even if the pharmacy tells me to take something else, I'm a good patient. I listen to my doctor. I'm still looking for that one.
Yes.
Well, we had a recent meeting with a private institution, and the physicians that were there, we had agreed, because there are certain medication that you need to have.
Yes.
No matter what, that has been working, tried and proven. And so with the DHS, we're expected to come up with a list of items, and we'll do a SI, and we will label it maybe orphan drug to ensure that it comes in and that they always have it on hand at all times. Because some of those items have already been imported in years gone by. So the quality have been tried and proven and that kind of thing. So we're working with them to come up with a list so that they can import and always have it available for their patient. Because we're still in the infancy stages. We're going to have hiccups. We're going to have things that we don't see. So we're trying, like I say, as much as possible to ensure access and availability.
And I think what you said is critical in terms of the early stages of this process. How do you explain to people the risk associated with continuing the practices that we saw before? Were we seeing people getting sick from fake medication or substandard medication? Were we seeing fake medication coming in? Was that a case that's why we had to deal with this now?
Yes, we did. We saw a lot. Go ahead.
Yes,
we confiscated a lot.
Previously, before I started working under the Pharmacy Department, I was working in a drug inspectorate department. I used to be one of the inspectors that go around checking the grocery stores, checking on the streets for the peddlers, and we confiscated a lot of falsified medication. And it looks very similar to the originals. So that was a big help for the public, removing all those falsified medications. We try, as pharmacists, and we ask our colleagues to try and educate their customers, their patients, ensuring what they're buying. If they buy medication that's not in a pharmacy, to ensure the type of medication they're buying, to ensure if it's a vitamin, because the peddlers are around convincing you, oh, take this, it's good for your headache, it's good for your pain. But we try to educate our patients, and what's good for you, it's not good. If you have a backache and you also, whatever you take, that doesn't mean it's good for you also. So we have to try and ensure, as pharmacists, to educate our patients.
There are a lot of people who are actually trying to manufacture their own medication here in our country. And there are a few places, like they will tell you, you know what, I sell neem oil, and neem oil is good for rashes and so on. So how do we, and these stores are around, they are around. So what are we doing in light of this?
As Ministry of Health, we could say we don't have any licensed compounding establishment in Belize.
Of neither pharmaceutical nor extemp preps, of none.
Wait, what does that mean? I don't understand.
Okay, so we don't have any manufacturing plants here in Belize. And we do not register establishment for extemp preps because they don't meet the standard. You'd have to meet the standard to manufacture here. So we don't have any plants here. So what we're saying is, if you take those items from those people, you do it at your own risk, because they don't have a Ministry of Health license to ensure the quality.
I think what he's asking, and I have a similar question, because there's some who create their own, and they create their own packets of mixtures of pills. But you also have even the supplements. You have people claiming that medication will cure cancer or cure your diabetes. And I mean, these are visible signs. You can take a picture anywhere in this country and, it's like the miracle drug has been discovered but only available in Belize. what kind of regulations exist for this type of
false
advertising? And people, I mean, we think that people are going to be able to see that perhaps this is just a gimmick.
Yes.
But when you are desperate to feel better, you'll try anything, and you will take all your money and pay it for this cancer curing drug or diabetes curing drug.
Well, like I said before, if they don't have a Ministry of Health license, there is no way we can ensure the quality. We cannot ensure the quality of those supplements. And so the Inspectorate Unit has started to visit those establishments to advise them of what is the procedure. And pretty much the Ministry of Health, it's the discussion that we've started, and there's a legislation that needs to come out because none exists with advertisement of medication and the benefits.
That's how crazy
Right, but the legislation does not exist. So we've started the discussion, and we've visited those establishments to ensure that they fall in line, because we cannot at this point in time verify what they're saying. And they can't verify what they're saying. So we're telling the public that if you do take these medications, you take them at your own risk, because there's no way of us verifying. And how could one item be good for all these? I mean, that's a red flag right there.
But unfortunately, people are spending their money.
They want to feel okay, so they'll take it.
They will. And that's the part, because these are where the business owners take advantage of or sick people. And it's sad because it's the terminally ill that's the ones that they're targeting.
So if somebody is caught selling medication just like that, not being registered, you're a peddler then, like you guys have mentioned. What happens to that person?
We confiscate the medication. Depending the situation, where we meet the peddler, the drug inspectorate unit would contact the police department as well. Like if the peddler sometimes doesn't have documentation of proper importation, so in that case we would inform the police department, and they would do on their end. So that part we don't get involved in, but on behalf of Ministry of Health, we confiscate all the medication they have.
And that's it?
That's it. For now, because there's
the medication.
That's the thing.
Well, we noticed that it's mostly contraband. They
So
bring it in through the borders, right. But we're beginning to work with customs. We're grateful for that network to ensure that all medication that's coming in needs to be approved by the Ministry of Health, Pharmacy Department. Everything that's coming in. So that third party approval has to come from us. And so the custom has been liaising with us a lot. We have access to the ASICUDA. We're doing third party selectivity to ensure that we know what's coming in.
But of course, contraband is contraband.
Yes, and we'll find all the other avenues for it to come in. So that's why we want to educate the public. And if they can inform us, there's the Ministry of Health email, drugalert@health.gov.pc. Inform us. You're out there, we're here, let us know. We'll go investigate. We liaise with the police department all the time, and the customs. So we will go and we'll ensure.
Have you tested the drugs that you confiscate to see what, I mean, because they're selling it because people are buying it, which means people are ingesting it and it's going in their body. Do we know what it is? I mean, when you say fake medication, I don't know what to think it is. Is it just a placebo pill, or is it a chemical that might do me more harm than good? What is it?
Well, we have a mini lab, and we've done some testing, but the mini lab only tests as far as to see if the item has an active ingredient, and there were a couple that didn't have the active ingredient as well. So those were withdrawn.
I'm still hooked up on the peddling situation, because if somebody is caught bringing in contraband, let's say alcohol, into the country, or you go to one of the contrabandistas, you bust them, they get charged. But this person now you find with contraband medication, and are they charged? So that person can go back and say, but take away everything, just give me a little bit more. I've already built trust in that village, I'm going back. But he's not charged.
Well, we haven't had any case as yet, right? We haven't had any case as yet, but they can be charged under the new Food and Drug Act.
So they know now. That's why we're asking questions.
Yeah, you know, it's a tough spot because we do have to get this particular area under control, and I understand the work that you're doing. But let me push further, because you spoke of pharmacies as well. So there's what the consumers do, but there's also what the pharmacists do. And we're not just talking peddlers on the street. We've been talking for so long about the concern of antibiotic resistance and how openly established pharmacies sell antibiotics to people without prescription. Talk to me about what the implications are and how you're cracking down on that end. I will do, as a person of creature of habit, what I'm accustomed to doing. So I start coughing, I want amoxicillin, I'm going to the store, they're going to give it to me without a prescription. If it's Zitromax, if it's whatever it is, I will go, and most of the time I get it. But what will happen on the other end, where these persons are licensed and registered with the Ministry of Health, if you find out that they are issuing antibiotics without prescriptions?
With the new Food and Drug Act, that establishment can be closed down. But in terms of the professional penalties, the Antibiotic Act is pretty much archaic, and so we're looking into reviewing those laws as well, activating the Antibiotic Committee as well, to ensure that the penalties are stiffer and that they'll have an impact if they do it. You know, we'll have an impact with it. So the legislation needs to be reviewed and being more adequate to the day in terms of the penalties, to know that they can't do it. But everybody has a responsibility to play, because the pharmacists know that they can't sell it, and the consumer, some of them go, I want, or I'll come back here, I'm going over there and I'll get it. You know what I mean? So everybody has a responsibility to play, because AMR is real. Antibiotic microbial resistance is real.
And we see it already in Belize.
Right, we've had several antibiotics that have become ineffective with some some bacteria. So the public needs to understand that you're not helping us, you're not helping you're not helping people going further into the future. If we don't have any antibiotics for any sickness, then what will happen to us? We become extinct. So that's the impact of you. Only give me 2 antibiotics. You know what I mean? You're increasing the chances of antimicrobial resistance, and you're putting us as a population at risk.
And you're also potentially increasing the cost of your healthcare later on. Too.
Yes,
if I can't take the first level antibiotic for an illness, then I have to go to something stronger,
which is much more expensive,
which costs more.
And then in
cheaper today, more
15 years, maybe the one that you're taking now won't be effective for a little cough or a cold. And in research and development of medication comes at a high cost. So the development of medication every day, of new medication, it costs. It comes at a huge cost.
I've got to put this across, because a lot of people, and I'm sure because you're watching, this is a question you'd want. Is there any such thing as a flu pack?
Let me just clear up that.
Please do.
A flu is viral. It's mostly viral. It will run its course. There's mostly the only thing we would advise for you to take is Tylenol. If it gets worse,
Tylenol.
Right. If it gets worse, then you visit the doctor to see, because maybe it can be bacterial and you don't know. You know, but mostly it's viral, and it will run its course. 3 days.
4 days, feeling a sort of way.
Hydrate, vitamin C, and it will run its course.
So in a little pack, a little Ziploc thingy that has 3 to 4 pills in it, that is labeled as a flu pack. Is this? No, I'm asking this because this happens every day, and it's happening right now as we speak. Somebody's going to a pharmacy and say, I could please have a flu pack. So is this thing legal? Is it something that people are supposed to take?
Who invented the flu pack?
So why is it? It's in the pharmacy, man. It's there.
You don't even know what the combination is.
You don't know what's the combination, but people are asking, and they're right there. And you look, what are you doing? Buy the take on a flu pack. and you hear the tone in the throat. But this thing, I just wanted to elaborate on that.
When the inspectors enter the pharmacy and if they see the flu pop pre-packed, they remove it. They ask the pharmacists or the owners to please remove it. But of course, there are business people as well. So,
Yeah, so if I come
the
in, they
demand
just
is
put them back
high,
Back together, right.
Flu pack.
It's
we can control up.
well,
under it
I
so
mean,
much.
yeah, there's a level of control with the drugs that
Right.
come in that's on sale, how they sell it, who they sell it to, with or without prescription, and there's also consumer education.
Right.
And I know that that's
Right.
part of your aim here.
Yes.
I want to bring it back just because what if I'm just one of the people that got caught up in this issue, and I'm perhaps looking for something that I can't find? We could use the hypertensive example or whatever it is. What do I do if my doctor has prescribed something that I just can't find anywhere, or suddenly costs 5 times more? How can the Ministry of Health help me?
Well, like I said, you can get in touch with the importer and they can bring it directly for you, and we will give the approval for it to come in specifically for
Do
you.
you have price controls measures in place?
No, that hasn't been. We were looking at that, but we haven't reached at that point as yet. But we're looking at that. Essentially, what we're trying to do is legislate what's already here and what is coming, and then we'll look at the price control, because that is essential as well.
Yeah.
Where are you seeing the biggest challenges in the rollout of the, I don't want to call it the crackdown, but the professionalization of the medication sale?
Like I said, because Belize is a small country, sometimes it's the access to specific items that are just or work for a specific population.
Yeah.
Because if, like I said, if the importer realizes that it's not cost effective to them, they won't bring it. They won't bring it. And so, and if the documentation is costing them a lot, then they won't invest in it, because ultimately they're a business.
Yeah. I mean, how many importers are we talking about across the country?
There's about 50.
50?
Yeah.
About 50
Yeah.
importers. And in terms of various pharmacies, how often do they renew their license?
Oh, it's every year.
Every
It's
year.
every year. They have to renew
And
every
back
year.
to the importers, what qualifies someone to be an importer? Just because I have an interest in bringing and buying and selling drugs?
No, you have to submit a police record. You have to have a registered pharmacist working for you. You need to have a warehouse that meets good storage practices, an AC, shelves. You need to ensure that, like I said, a police record of your good standings.
Yeah.
And the pharmacist ensures the storage and distribution of all the pharmaceuticals.
And if I want to start a pharmacy, what must I have?
A retail pharmacy.
Yeah.
The location must meet the standards of the Ministry of Health in terms of the AC, because we're a hot country. You're a registered pharmacist working
but
for
I
you.
see supermarkets that aren't air conditioned selling medication.
That's why I said you have to buy your medication from a pharmacy that's licensed.
Okay.
Because supermarkets, they're only allowed to sell OTC products.
Wow.
Over the counter.
Over the
Oh,
counter.
all
No
right.
prescription
No
required.
prescription,
Doctor
especially
and
not
health visit.
controlled, especially not antibiotics. So they have a role to play as well. An inspectorate unit go out and take away those items from them all the time, but they seem to keep on getting them, and so we're asking the public just not buy from them, because then
Okay.
And also the public to assist us in reporting. If they enter a supermarket and they see antibiotics or medication that are prescription medication and not over-the-counter medication, to report it to us so that we could visit the establishment and remove the medication.
Let's try it the other way around. Why shouldn't I buy it from the supermarket that's not air conditioned, that doesn't ask me for my prescription, and that
Doesn't have a
is
registered
cheaper?
pharmacist.
Because let's be honest, it's economic.
It's
You want to be
economic,
healthy,
yeah.
but you got to eat and do everything else too.
that doesn't have a registered pharmacist, that cannot advise you properly if maybe you have an underlying cause that will cause an interruption and maybe let you end up in the hospital. Because, for instance, if you have hypertension and you want to take a certain OTC or a certain antibiotic, and can I take this with my high blood pressure? Can the shop attendant advise you? if there's an interaction between your underlying condition
Or
and the
if you're
medication
diabetic.
that you're about to take,
A cough syrup.
you're putting yourself at risk.
Yeah. Or when you feel like the medication just isn't working, it
Yeah.
might just be
Right.
because it isn't what it says it is.
Or that it's been there in the sun for a lot of days and then it's become ineffective. All the potency has gone.
Gone. Oh, okay.
So how big is your unit to be able to man all of these places?
This is
so
it. Well,
All 6 districts.
you know.
The pharmacy.
the pharmacy department is 2 inspectors. The drug inspectorate unit that goes out to confiscate and do the powers of the inspector, which means to check for antibiotic and controlled meds sales. There's 2, and they're about to hire 2 more.
All right.
And there will probably be 6, right? Yeah.
And if someone in the public wants to report something or to bring up a concern, you said there was an email address to get directly in touch?
It's drugalert@health.gov.bz, or they can get in touch with the drug inspectorate unit. That's 828-4466.
All right.
828-4466. All
Okay.
right.
Well, thank you for
Thank
coming
you.
in and
Thank you.
answering our